chunky. I like my veggies chunky. So bland. Spice it up at all.
You know, I hate more than anything terrible Chinese products. Did you know those little things that shatter if you drop them from shoulder height? This is Stomp Box, and the best part about it, it's all. I don't need a Stomp Box.
This interrogation is so crazy.
How are you gonna teach him when it's real? Or what if I was my friends over and I think I'm gonna try to.
Is that what you all are trying to do? I don't know much after
I'll go first on this one. Chase, I'm gonna have to go against you on the setup of the room. I think the person you're talking to needs something.
This is the cram.
Blind reaction to Sarah literally thinks she's going the wrong way, and something in the title tells me Sarah's not. But before we get, and this is another Jason, I think he can, but I'm not sure.
Today we're going to talk about the interrogation of Sarah Boone. Greg, what's tell us about the videos we're going to watch?
We'll keep this pretty short. She was arrested in 2020 for this murder. I think she was charged with second-degree murder. This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and they're saying two investigators are talking to her. This is a day later than when they went to talk to her on site.
So, to your recollection, no videos on Sunday? Not that I'm aware of. Okay. I mean, I get maybe take a picture of the two of Tess and...
Today we're going to revisit Sarah Boone. We're going to break down and tear apart her body language as she's on trial and on the stand. I'm going to tell you what you folks think about it. Greg, tell us about the video we're going to watch.
Yeah, so this week we're going to get a chance to do something a little different than we usually do. We're going to watch a testimony on the cross by the prosecution. We're also going to look back 2 years at a clip of her first interaction with the police and what we said 2 years ago. Let's see how that aged.
I just put everybody.
There you go.
No problem. Like, you and I put a puzzle together, we can do some puzzle together.
You were putting a puzzle together?
Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there.
Okay.
We've been doing art, trying to put stuff off the wall, to make new art, put up there, like having a good time with one another. So we're thinking, we had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we tried to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So we get from the suitcase. Okay. Cool. That's my ex-husband. I told her. No. I told him over here.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
So then he came over here.
Okay, let's talk to Tiger.
I called you guys. The problem is, I fell asleep. When did you do it? This morning. When I found it.
Before you called?
Yes.
It's 1 o'clock right now.
I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30. So I came downstairs and I was like, oh, she can't still. And I found him and I took him out and I tried to do CPR and then I called him and then I told you that.
Did he get here before the fire department got here?
Who?
Your husband?
Yes.
Okay. Where's he at?
Right upstairs.
Okay. So you were planning to get some husband?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay, so you're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
Like an aneurysm or a heart attack or what?
Medical conditions you have.
None that I know of. No. All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay.
Doing puzzles, artwork. Then we tried to play hide and seek. That's all that happened. So I'm like, yeah, what happened? I don't know what happened.
So how long were you doing CPR on him prior to you calling 911? You tried that all morning?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I told him, well, I wasn't here.
Did you start probably giving a rough off?
In the champion's league knockout phase, every decisive moment gives you goosebumps. With the Champions League round of 16, stream every match. Yeah, if she wants us to think that she is not heavily involved in this, it didn't go well from the start on this, and I think the officers who showed up right at the start, we're getting a sense of that. Let's see where the investigators take it, but not a good start, I would say. Chase, what do you think?
So I'm going to give you one nugget here. You should probably write this down because it's a good one, I think. This comes down to, does the person reasonably feel like they can predict their future? Do they know what's coming next? Guilty people are far less likely to feel like they know what's coming next, or they can predict what's going to happen in their lives the next few days. Innocent people have no problem saying, I'm going to be in bed tomorrow night, and the next night after that, and the next night after that. So a lot of that comes down to that. We see a whole video here with a person who has their ability to predict the future has gone to zero, right? Yeah, one thing we have to point out is you can be naive and believe all day that you have some control over your life, and believe that simply by saying, I didn't mean to go to sleep, you could be absolved of any involvement in the person's death. That's not how the court system works. I say all the time, interrogation is an intentional outcome desired when you go in. So you're after getting something to finish it. So this person may feel confident, may feel like she's confident because she doesn't understand the way the court system and the way law works. Every law has elements that you have to satisfy to mean that the person violated that rule and can be charged. And those can be very tricky. So while she has openly admitted, hey, I put it in the suitcase, I zipped it up, then I fell asleep, it's not my fault. That's not necessarily the way the courts will see it. So she may feel confident and may be in for a rude awakening. Scott, what do you have?
I think this is a great example of seeing somebody who comes into the situation with a story or their idea for a story, but they haven't had enough time to talk about it, think about it, work their way through it, knocking things out of the way that don't sound right, to verify it with themselves. You have to make it sound true. And as she goes through, she starts adding these things and these fake emotions to start to look like she's really sincere about how surprised she was about she fell asleep and just can't believe that happened because she fell asleep. I think it's a great example of somebody who's not very smart, trying to almost take advantage of that, I think. I maybe give her too much credit, but I think it's a great example of seeing somebody get in there and try their hardest to find out what's going on, with the cops, and trying to find out if they're going to be in trouble or not, as they set up this little rinky-dink story to help protect themselves.
So what do you guys think about that?
About us Colorado.
Well, it seemed pretty obvious at the time, so yeah, let's see how it plays out. It could have gone either way, but it seemed pretty obvious at the time.
I think once you see clusters of behavior like we did in that video, you're gonna really be able to predict a lot with a lot greater accuracy once we see a lot of behaviors together like we did there.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, well, let's take a look at Sarah Boone in court. It's going to be really interesting, so let's take a look.
All right. Today you testified about the time frame between the two videos, correct? So you came down from the shower where you were hiding, correct? And as you're coming down the stairs, before you even get to the bottom of the stairs, you can kind of see over your shoulder or towards your right that he's trying to hide in something, correct? And the lid is down, but it's not closed, and you can tell he's hiding there. It's not a great hiding spot just yet, right? And so you come over to him, and you're laughing, right? And you move the suitcase around some before zipping it shut, right? Now, you immediately zip it shut? Okay. And you're both still laughing about it, correct? All right. And then it's during this course of time, how quickly is it after you zip it shut that you begin filming the first video? Okay, I mean, the video's not going to catch you zipping him up because you're like 10 feet away, right? How quickly after you zip him up is it before the video starts? Is my question. Okay. And then during that 9 minutes and 14 seconds is when he begins to get angry, correct? between the two videos, there's 9 minutes and 14 seconds between the end of 1061 and the beginning of, or 1062 and 1063. So you got the 2 minute, 3 second video that starts at 11:12:45, correct?
I guess.
Permission to use state 17? You may.
This stuff right here gets my back pain. Now check this out. I had pain to
All right, Greg, what do you got? This is going to be a really good one because we get the chance to look back at that plan she had when she met the cops the first time. Let's see how that plays out to understand. Very different. This is one of the best stress response video clips we've seen on the show. At the behavior panel, our goal is to help you see behind the surface, to spot deception and analyze the true intent behind people's words. It is a mission that I personally feel strongly about, and especially in today's bias and overwhelming media landscape. And mainstream media tends to blur the truth and make it really hard to see through the chaos. This is why all of us are proud to have Brown as a sponsor. They help readers look beyond the mainstream narratives and uncover the patterns in the way that today news really spins and frames the issues that are going on, or even just fails to cover them in the first place, like they don't even talk about that. So for every story that you read on their app or their website, you get instant access to every outlet that's reporting on that thing. On top of that, there's a breakdown of each source's political bias. For instance, you get this report of how subjective the reporting tends to be, if they're independently owned, or they funded by corporations or governments, or they're getting their money from somewhere that's influencing what they're saying. So ground news really helps you see the subtle ways that the media very heavily shape our public opinion. I'm not even immune to it after studying all this psychology stuff, and it's good to be able to see behind the curtain. I'm actually in the process of writing a book. It's almost done on media brainwashing, and I think they're one of the most practical solutions that I have ever seen. So check it out by scanning this QR code or go to ground.com. First one of the things it does, all the things we tell you to see, it goes in the part of it. The other part is it starts to turn off your thinking brain. It puts you in odd situations. So let's talk about some of the outside things. So when fight or flight hits, one of the first things we notice is people's thoughts your opinion. But the other things that are really clear to us when we see are people dilation, blood rate increase, respiration increase, blood rate increase. Those are really easy to see and really easy to pay attention to. You could say, well, there's lighting or something wrong in the equipment, the sick port with plenty of light. Her pupils are dilated to take in all the data she possibly can. Now, the other thing that's interesting about fight or flight is it starts turning off your thinking brain. And if you're going to go in front of an audience, in front of a jury, the last thing you want to do is turn into a jerk in front of the jury. And the other thing is, just like I always tell you guys about SEER, if you're in SEER, you can't recall all the memories. Jason, I will tell you, you can't remember everything about SEER school because it was dark and it's all that memories laid down in the fight or flight. But when you get back in fight or flight, all of those feelings and all those things come back to the surface. So it's an opportunity for this person to be dragged into something and to say something they may not say otherwise because their strategy is in that frontal lobe and they're back in the moment. So it's a good opportunity. A couple other things. Scotty was talking about resting face. She doesn't have a good resting face. Get in for it. If you're going to understand, you can't smile, but you certainly don't want to do what she's doing here. She's evasive. I don't know. Let's listen for that. Let's listen for that pronoun. That contracted denial. But she's starting off with I don't. Let's see if that changes anytime we explain it. That's one way to resist. You can resist an interrogation. You can resist the prosecutor. You can resist people by saying I don't know, I don't remember. But you better damn well remember to not remember in the time comments. So those are two setups she's doing in the beginning. She's confrontational. It feels a lot like when she was arguing with the two police officers in the interrogation room, but we thought it was one of the worst we've ever seen. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, great points, man. There's a lot of increased blink rate as almost a baseline here. And we didn't see a lot of that in the body cam footage. We saw, I'm going to be fine tonight, I'm going to go back to my bed, I'm probably going to be okay. So when our blink rate speeds up, this is how often we blink, not how fast. When our blink rate speeds up, it's typically stress, but not in alignment with a lot of the other body language stuff. When a blink rate is slow, it's not the opposite. Our blink rate slows down for focus, not relaxation. So there's a difference. So when a threat, a potential threat is unpredictable, blink rate goes down for focus because I don't know what to expect. Even when there's stress there, blink rate goes down for focus. So predictability of a threat increases blink rate. If I know something's going to happen and I know my future, my stress is there and I don't need to focus on a target because I know what's going to happen. The body's not needing to force the eyes open to stay alert to movements and stuff. So predictable threats are more likely to cause increases in blink rate, which we see here. When somebody has no ability to predict what's going on and there's some kind of threat, whether it's social, financial, or even physical, the body prioritizes focus, and that lowers blink rate. There's a lack of expressiveness here. Her body is on lockdown, and on a whole, innocent people are more likely to be expressive with their face and with their body, and I'm not seeing that here at all. Their pupils are large, they're like 6 to 8 millimeters, but that may be baseline for this room. I doubt it. But let's keep an eye on it. Maybe it'll change. So if you're ever asking some of the questions, you're going to hear a lot of this. And if you're an attorney, this is going to maybe make you upset. But overly leading statements. So some questions lead a witness to correct or I guess answer without exploring any of the depth. And so instead of feeding the answer, the prosecutor, examiner can ask more open-ended questions that encourage somebody to explain. So rather than you laughed about it, correct? Something like, what was your reaction when you zipped him in? That's a good question. So I think it's a stark reminder of how deeply our experiences can shape who we are. Caught in an abusive relationship, psychological struggles with PTSD, narcissism, and if you watch the video, maybe some sadism. That complicated a lot of this. And it's a good look at how abuse and mental health can twist somebody's behavior. So always remember just to break down complex questions into simple, focused questions to control the flow of information, especially in situations like this. Scott, do you?
Yeah, I agree. I can't believe this guy asked questions that way. It was, I'm not going to say ridiculous. I'm not an attorney. We've seen enough of that to know better than that. You think that he would have to. It's just, like you were saying, correct? Yes, so lets her say yes or no. You don't get anything out of it. And in this thing, going back to blink rate, I thought from seeing this, I was like, you know what, I'm going to count on these. I'm going to count on the blink rates, and no matter what you guys say, boom, you guys will never give me the rate. I tried to do it, made me car sick. It's impossible. It's impossible to do it in that short amount of time, because also too much blinking, there's so much going on here. It's fascinating to see the combination of, it's not facial expressions on her face, she doesn't show the emotions, it's everything else going on in her face. It's just bizarre. So she's got that stuff where she's chewing on her mouth, moving her mouth around, everything's moving. And if these things happen, you can see, I'm under the impression that that's when things are registering for her. So when she gets information, it registers, and that's what's happening along with her blink rate like that, because they're both just moving around now. But her mouth and stuff slows down. It comes in groups, in clusters. But the blink rate just pretty much spot on the whole time. And the mouth squinching, that thing, we've got to come up with a name for that. It's not compression, it's not anything else, it's just this real. And some people will see some of these and go, oh, that's Cooper's Delight. It's not. It's not Cooper's Delight, it's just her it may be a way she's adapting as well. Because I start thinking, how could somebody, number one, keep doing that for so long? I mean, just, if you tried to blink that low, like that fast, for that amount of time, man, I don't know, it would be weird. It would be really, really hard to do it. So from the questioning, all her answers are short, they're tight, they're quiet. So all she has to do is say yes, no. Now those get a little bit bigger in a few minutes and a couple of videos, but it's really, the only expression we see really is sort of concern, because that's in her brow. That only comes after she's hearing specific information as it registers. So it's it's the concern is the question, I think. Maybe she's just already gone, I'm in trouble. There's no way out of this. And I'm just going to talk about this, but try to save my ego as much as I possibly can while he's left of it. But I think this is really interesting because I've never seen this before. Somebody blinking that much the whole time with their mouth going at the same time. Just thought it was really interesting. With no emotions. She's not showing any emotion whatsoever. What do you got?
Yeah, well, I've got 120 plus on the blink rate, and it's plus because I'm like, I just couldn't count it. And
I stopped at 200.
yeah, I mean, it's just such a lot at some points that I couldn't count it. What I do want people to do is to go back on our commentary here, go back to Chase's in the moment when he mentioned blink rate, because what you're going to see in me is the side of my mouth go up in disdain as he mentions blink rate. The reason is that's all I have to talk about here. And so I was hoping that I would go before Chase because, you know, Chase has forgotten more about blink rate than I could ever, know about it. And so if you want to see a micro gesture of disdain, and the reason it's disdain and not contempt is for a person. Disdain is for a group or a situation. So my disdain was at the situation of, damn, like, all my material has gone now. Apart, Scott, from mentioning that, like you, I couldn't make the count at all. It's just too much. Here's what I and just like you, Scott, I think people should test themselves on trying to do that blink rate and seeing what happens in your mind, in your physiology, in your emotions when you're blinking at that rate. Because, I mean, I'm sure you've seen blink rates like that before, but as you were saying, Chase, as a baseline almost, it's extreme. Now, obviously, we expect courts to be stressful. Like, courts have been some of the most stressful places that I've ever been in, and I've been on the right side. I haven't been on the wrong side of it. Or if I have been on the defence side, it's like I'm not the accused. I'm there helping defence. So it's like it's not my head on the chopping block at this point, but it's still damn stressful. But even that stressful. Well, I think there's something else going on. Chase, before we leave this one, here's what I'd love to hear from you. Obviously, we've got kind of no blink rate at all, which would mean, I don't know, maybe someone's gone into a coma with their eyes open. What would be the blink rate per minute in your view? And I know it'll be kind of an avenue, but of extreme focus, what would we be kind of thinking of?
Extreme focus would be around 3 at an extreme level.
So 3 a minute.
Yeah, so like when I watched the movie Interstellar, which is one of my favorite movies, my blink rate was probably around a 3. Like during the math portion of my SATs, which I suck at, it was probably like a 75 or 70. So
okay, so once we're 75 and over 70, we're would that be extreme stress or somewhat stressful?
That's extreme. So anything over like 25 would be stress. Anything over 40, I would say, is maybe getting close to serious.
Right. So if Scott and I are right that we're reading like at times like 120, like there's sometimes in my view it was 3 blinks a second. Like are we seeing just stress off the charts, or could it be something else?
There could be some kind of allergy. I highly doubt it. It's a courtroom. They use the most sterile, boring, banal everything. Carpet, furniture, paint, you name it.
Right. It can also be she's trying to ratchet down everything, and the more you ratchet, the more stuff leaks. That's right. We don't know.
So she's ramping herself up at the same time as getting ramped up. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, go back, look at that moment of disdain. That's what we call a micro gesture, because it happens within microseconds, within frames.
I think in Greg's world, if we go back to horses, That little skin twitch is what they do when there's a fly on. So maybe we could name it the fly twitch. And they move their mouth when they're thinking. I think she's got the George Parlor, so that's a good call.
You know, it's interesting, Chase. I was looking at scientific studies on blink rate. There are not just scientific studies of human beings on blink rate. There's a whole bunch of social mammal studies, blink rate, including horses. Because horses, it's very easy to see their blink because the eyes are so big, and it's much easier to kind of note a blink and a partial blink with them. So I stumbled across all these studies, scientific studies on horse blink rate today. Anyway,
Have you guys ever seen somebody sleep with their eyes open?
Yeah, of course.
You have? Dude, the first time I saw him scared me to death. We were on a class, I was with this band, because I was producing the record. And this guy, you know how you get you have little box, you have this little thing that you close, like when you door with a curtain door on it or anything there. This guy got to close his, because we were goofing around or something, he just left his open. And I looked over at him, he was asleep, and his eyes were like, open. I was like, oh my God, I thought he was dead or something. I was like, oh my God. And they said this cat, his eyes were open all the time when he slept. It was just normal for him. I'd never seen that before.
we have also somebody in a coma with their glasses still.
I remember that.
Billy Bunter.
Yeah.
Roll up to Will's back with 4 ways to play for a chance to win.
All right, now, today you testified about the time frame between the two videos, correct? So you came down from the shower where you were hiding, correct? And as you're coming down the stairs, before you even get to the bottom of the stairs, you can kind of see over your shoulder towards your right that he's trying to hide his suitcase, correct? And the lid is down, but it's not closed. You can tell he's hiding there. It's not a great hiding spot just yet, right? And so you come over to him, and you're laughing, right? And you move the suitcase around some before zipping it shut, right? Now, you immediately zip it shut? Okay. And you're both still laughing about it, correct? All right. And then it's during this course of time, how quickly is it after you zip it shut that you begin filming the first video? Okay. I mean, the video's not going to catch you zipping it up like 10 feet away, right? How quickly after you zip them up is it before the video starts? Is my question. Okay. And then during that 9 minutes and 14 seconds is when he begins to get angry, correct?
9 minutes.
Between the two videos, there's 9 minutes and 14 seconds between the end of 1061 and the beginning of 1062 and 1063. So you got the 2 minute, 3 second video that starts at 11:12:45, correct?
I guess.
Permission to use state 17?
You may.
Three 1113. The second movie is captured at 11:23:03 p.m. Your testimony was that after that first video was captured by your phone and you, Mr. Torres began getting angry and trying to push his way out, correct? Between these two movies, in which there's about 9 minutes and 14 seconds, Mr. Torres begins to get angry and try and push his way out to get out of the suitcase, correct?
I've been angry on and off around these prior to
Okay. You didn't tell us that earlier. You said it was a wonderful, fun day all day, correct? Okay. But you did not tell us earlier today that you'd been angry throughout the day. You described your entire day doing puzzles, arts and crafts, and outside by the dartboard, and you said it was a wonderful day and everything was fun until it was in the suitcase. Did you testify to that earlier today? My specific question between these two movies is, this is when he begins to get angry, trying to push his way out and get out of the suitcase, correct? And he was expressing his anger in what manner? How did he say this?
My throat did.
Ma'am, you know very well that I'm talking about between these movies. Please answer my question. Between these two movies, how did he express his anger with you?
Okay, I was like fucking done.
Okay? Now this is happening after he's already told you several times you cannot breathe in the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
And he's been in there for whatever brief amount of time it took you to zip him up, and the laughter stops, and you go over and begin to film, correct? And you're filming. Your purpose of filming is to kind of teach him a lesson. This is your chance to say something to him that you can't say anything back to you, correct? Correct.
It was no lesson to be learned. It was just I wanted to try to understand how I felt so maybe he could progress in being put up with the next day.
So you wanted him to understand how you felt in the past, and that's teaching a lesson.
I just didn't understand.
Chase, what do you got?
There's a key moment in here. I think it perfectly shows the blink rate shift. When the prosecutor is asking about it being a wonderful, fun day, I think like that, and she replies, but that's because I lived. Wow, there's a perfect stoppage in blink rate for a few seconds there. And in my view, the degree to which she could predict how things are going fell to zero as she needed more focus to process them temporarily. And maybe for two reasons. Either A, she needed to assess how the answer was perceived, like his reaction, how is he reacting to it, or she needed to demonstrate an appropriate facial expression for effect. Maybe both. But she's breathing into her chest, which is, we breathe into our chest when we're stressed, we breathe into our abdomen when we're relaxed. If you go watch somebody sleeping with their eyes closed, you'll see them breathing into their abdomen, and you see people breathe, the higher up into their body, the more stressed they are. As an extreme pro tip, if you're ever preparing a client to go on a stand like this, and you need them to breathe into their abdomen, and you want to give them something to pacify and self-soothe on, you wrap an ACE bandage, not too tight, around the lower abdomen. It forces awareness down to that area and lets them self-soothe just by breathing into the abdomen. It helps them look more calm to a jury. Anyway, so you could use it in a job interview too if you wanted to. But the responses here show that she's trying to control the story, downplay her role. She first describes the day as wonderful, maybe to soften up some negative lead up, and then she admits or says that Torres, is that his name? Yeah, I think it was Torres, was angry and struggling, but she filmed everything to teach him a lesson. So the shift in motive suggests she's uncomfortable with her real intent, and she's reframing everything to look justified. And I think her lack of concern for distress shows absolute detachment. And maybe to avoid feeling responsible, and maybe Scott has another opinion on what's happening. But her deflections when she's pressed reveal some discomfort with what her actions imply, if that sentence makes any sense. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, Chase, I agree with you. I love putting something around your abdomen because it forces you to think. It doesn't just force you to think about your abdomen. The mere fact of thinking forces your thinking brain back online instead of your reactive brain responding. It's the same thing with curling your toes or any of that stuff. But that's brilliant because it forces them to, at the same time, appear to be comfortable. And that's an important factor. So what I think is happening here is she came with a plan, and like I said, I believe that last time, I still do it. She had a plan, and she thought, if I say I fell asleep because I was drunk, it'll be okay. It'll be okay, no matter what happens. And I think she's coming with that mind. She tries to parse words when he's asking her about the time between those two videos. And then he calls her in the car to watch. You see something very quick happen. She makes a little abrupt lean back, her blink rate rockets through her, but she has her eyebrows, which is kind of weird. That's a weird mix. And she does a condemning scout, that kind of bulldog face, when he asks, did you want to teach him a lesson? I think what we're seeing there is residual emotion. I don't think it's a thing at all. I think it's back in the moment because she's feeling all that fight or flight, and it sure seems like she is not thinking clearly. She says some genuine confusion in my opinion, and maybe her frontal lobe is that she's trying to figure out what he's talking about. He's talking about teaching a lesson. Because what she just described is teaching this guy a lesson, but this is a key opportunity. If she was going to say, I was afraid for my life, telegraph something. He says, what did he say to you? Not the one that killed you. Well, if she were in her thinking frame, she might say, and that's the reason I didn't let him out. But she doesn't. I'm going to teach him a lesson. And then she forgot to not remember. Just use that for a second, if that makes any sense, Jason, to your point. If your posture when you're resisting an interrogator, when you're trying to get away is I don't remember, then you have to always not remember, not at opportune time. So it becomes kind of a game here. She forgot not to remember. And so she's in a bind. One keynote, she should have a whole lot of stress. Guess how many attorneys she has fired by July? Any guess? 8 is what it, by July. She might have fired the 9th one too. I don't know who's representing her here, but she clearly doesn't have great counseling. Nobody's prepared her, or she's maybe did not listen to their preparation. All the stuff we're talking about, the attorney's political, she knew about it. It's a bad sign. I believe it.
Yeah, so Chase, I was going to talk about breathing rate as well. But this time there was no disdain on this because I'm now just resigned to it. I'm now just resigned. Just like, there it goes again. So if you want to reel back, when Chase starts talking about breathing rate, which is really the only thing I have to talk about here.
I only did breathing location.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to talk about that as well. I mean, whatever happens, Chase, it's lessened the impact of me. Just, it's almost destroyed me.
I'm sorry for you.
Yes, exactly. So you're going to see a man scrabbling back. Yeah, scrabbling. This is Mark scrabbling back. So yeah, breathing rate, I'm reiterating you, Chase. It's high, and the reason we can see it's high is she's chosen to wear all black, which is an interesting look given the situation. I'm not saying there she should be in, red and lace and, whatever, or bold blue or patterns, but all black is definitely has connotations to it. Certainly in our, Western, US culture, for sure, it has strong death connotations. She's got this V-neck, which makes it very easy to read that breathing rate. You want to look out for that contrast happens because white skin, black V-neck, the V is going to stay constant other than any movement in it, and we're going to see the contractions and the expansions there. It's easy to see. The breathing rate, it is high and it's relatively rapid and big. It looks to me, I would read it as aggressive. Now to your point, Greg, and I think Chase as well, is it aggressive because she's harking back to the aggression that was put on her, or aggression that she might have felt at the time, which would be that teaching a lesson aggression, or is it fight and flight around the aggression she's saying was put towards her, or is it aggression in the moment? Well, she does put forward a chin of defiance as well. Now again, is that the defiance of the moment back then? Is it the defiance of the moment now? Well, I'm not a mind reader, so I don't know where it's placed in time. I mean, maybe I could make approximations based on more information, but I don't have the information there. But certainly to me, she's looking aggressive, defiant, and then you put that with a blink rate. So I'd love you at home right now, or in your office, or wherever you are, and watch out what happens, due to this. But do that blink rate and breathe high in your chest at that rate and depth as well, and see how you start to feel. And it's probably, hopefully, not a feeling that you feel very often. If you feel that feeling a lot, then I would say go and go talk to a friend or family member trusted, or somebody professional about feeling like that a lot, because that is really high anxiety and aggressive anxiety in my mind. You might feel something different, it could be different for you, but I would gamble that you're going to feel pretty much like that. Scott, what are you going to do?
All right, so anyway, and I think her clothes, you're talking about clothes, I don't think those are hers. I don't think she picked that up because they don't fit properly. See, I thought you were going to bring that up, so I told you what, got my next up. But her sleeves are too long. Her shoes, she's not used to walking around those shoes. It's because she's been in, I don't know what prison shoes are or what they look like, maybe they're tennis shoes or something. She doesn't look comfortable wearing that stuff, I'm sure. And the way she's turns at this point, well, their job, we got to give her some clothes to do this. And so just go out and get her something. So they said, the runner to go pick her up some clothes. What size? Told him the size and she would pick them up. Or he would pick them up, whatever it is. So I think that's what's happening there. I don't think that was thought out at all here. And I think for them, they already see this as an easy win. It's just have to lob stuff in there and get through it and that'll be fine. So I don't think they're worried about that. So I think that's what's up in the clothes. Because they're not putting up. But this is the first time that her cadence, voice tone, and volume are all fairly stable as she's talking through here. So, and we see one person, and that mouth movement is, I really believe that's the way she's registering what's happening. She takes it in the she's registering that. And it increases a little bit as she's structuring what's going on, or what her answer is going to be, because she actually has answers on this one. Because when she says there was no lesson to be learned here, she's really, really careful and clear with that. Like there was no lesson to be learned here. So that which makes sense because she's trying to what little is left of her ego to save. Unless some part of the ego said, well, you're right, and no matter what happens, you're going to feel good about this. I think that's pretty much gone, but she must have a little while there. She's trying to stick up for that. And she's still showing the wicked sort of the brow, but still combined with that frank expression. It's all happening right up in here, but nothing other than those weird mouth moves when that blink rate is changing her face at all. So no emotion whatsoever. Doesn't feel bad about this when they bring up the guy or his name or anything. Nothing hits her weird. This is a person who's, well, I don't know if doesn't have the ability to show emotion or have emotion, but she sure isn't showing it at all, not even a little bit.
Spectrum abre cada día una puerta a posibilidades sin límites. Con Spectrum tus juegos te transportan a otro universo y con las velocidades de internet más.
31113, the second movie is captured at 11:23:03 p.m. Your testimony was that after that first video was captured by your phone and you, Mr. Torres began getting angry and trying to push his way out, correct? Between these two movies, of which there's about 9 minutes and 14 seconds, Mr. Torres begins to get angry and trying to push his way out and out of the suitcase, correct?
He had been angry on and off throughout the entire day.
Okay. You didn't tell us that earlier. You said it was a wonderful, fun day all day, correct?
Never.
Okay. But you did not tell us earlier today that he had been angry throughout the day.
When I say that.
You described your entire day doing puzzles, arts and crafts, and outside by the dartboard, and you said it was a wonderful day and everything was fun until it was in the suitcase. Did you not testify to that earlier today? Okay. My specific question between these two movies is, this is when he begins to get angry, trying to push his way out and get out of the suitcase, correct? And he was expressing his anger in what manner? How did he say this?
At which point throughout the day.
Ma'am, you know very well what I'm talking about between these movies. Please answer my question. Between these two movies, how did he express his anger with you?
Told me that I was going to fucking die.
Okay. Now this is happening after he's already told you several times you cannot breathe in the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
And he's been in there for whatever brief amount of time it took you to zip him up, and the laughter stops, and you go over and begin to film, correct? And you're filming. Your purpose of filming is to kind of teach him a lesson. This is your chance to say something to him, but you can't say anything back to you, correct? Correct?
There was no lesson to be learned, it was just I wanted him to try to understand how I felt, so maybe he could progress and be a better person the next day.
So you want him to understand how you felt in the past, so that's not teaching a lesson.
I just wanted him to understand.
This image, 106.1, taken at 11:03 p.m. 31 seconds. Does this appear to be the blue suitcase that's in the two videos that were captured at 11:12 and 11:23 p.m.? Did you take this image at 11:03 p.m.?
I don't remember if I did or not.
And again, we had, by we, I mean you, Mr. Torres, 2 1.5-liter bottles of wine plus whatever was left over for the day before, correct? So you don't remember taking this photograph?
No,
Do you remember whether or not Mr. Torres was in here?
I remember taking,
Okay. So, what is your memory of what happens between 11:03 p.m. and 31 seconds when that image is captured, and then when the movie starts at 11:12:45? What do you remember? Do you remember anything from that night? You told the police on February 25th, 2020, when they first showed you the video, that you didn't remember taking that. Remember that? Your testimony is you do remember taking that video, but you don't remember taking that photograph 9 minutes prior. Was there something, did you have more to drink in those 9 minutes? Was Mr. Torres in that suitcase the entire time between 11:03 when that image was taken and then the second video was taken at 11:23 p.m.? So for 20 minutes? Yes? Did he begin telling you that he couldn't breathe before the video, or do you not remember?
Hey, it's Danielle with 4 Patriots. I have an incredible story to share with you today. One that'll help you stay strong and prepared in the face of whatever crisis may come your way. Simple idea. So, in an emergency, your number one priority is food. And let me just clear, while you make it a day or two without food, it's a miserable experience that nobody should face. And no one has to, if they're prepared ahead of time. Look, the experts can read it.
Mark Reja.
Yeah, so remember when I asked you to go back and look at that disdain that I showed about, Chase grabbing that moment on blink rate, just ripping it from me. I think you do see disdain in her on this. Now, there's a lot, and I think, Scott, you're right. I don't think you're seeing dupas here. I think you're seeing disdain on this. Now, having said that, there is a lot going on there. There's some kind of chewing the side of the mouth that goes on. I think that could be an adapter to your point there, Scott, or even if it's repetitive or self-soothe there. Again, it's happening so often. There's so much animation in the face that it's almost a baseline throughout. But we do have somewhat of a baseline for her under some stress because we saw her in front of the cops. Many months or maybe even years ago, was it now? That's a long time ago. But we saw her under stress there, and we hadn't got that mouth chewing going on, and this side of the mouth going up in disdain, and then there's also lip compression that start happening again. So we've got chew of the mouth, side up in disdain, lip, I can't even do it, lip compressions going on. There's a lot happening
all at once that's tough. I would say it's happening so quick that it's tough to work out what exactly might it be about. I would leave that for my colleagues to make throw some more precise darts into that one. But all I will say is such extreme animation, even as a baseline in this situation, has to say something about some extreme stress going on right now. Is it that she is constantly making up story here? Is it that she has not been prepared by anybody because she keeps firing everybody who could give her any preparation, showing she is completely at sea there? It could be any and all of those, I would say. Greg, what are your thoughts about this one?
I'm going to go back to something Shay said at the end of last video. When a person believes that they have control of their home at night, there's a very different mindset. When she came in, if you remember, she thought she had control of it. I said, well, it's naive, well, control. But she has a story she's going to tell. She's going to be emphatic, tell you all that. That's gone. You guys talk about compressors. She's compressed. She is compressed. She's not using any body language to say what she's thinking, any of that. So I think what's happening is that thing that you're talking about, Chase, where once you realize you've lost control, you stop being, there's no longer any of that. There's uncertainty and all the brain pick up the body language. We're seeing all of that. There's a couple of things that are happening here. She remembers to forget something that has absolute evidence, so it's a waste of her time. When the guy says, what time did you take this picture of this luggage? Well, of course she did. It's on her phone. And I know that time, but she says, I don't remember. She has had somebody prepare, and if you don't believe that, she answers, I don't, I do, correct. She doesn't volunteer information. So somewhere in those 8 attorneys, somebody said, don't volunteer information on the stand. And she remembers that. This thing she's doing in her mouth, in my opinion, is nothing more than internalizing and thinking. It's adapting, yes. But if you watch the kids, I always say, if your parents and I go, hey, stop doing that, you would be walking around at work, because little kids do that. They're thinking, their mouth is moving and all that. I think that's part of the thing. And Mark, you stole one of mine. Payback, good disdain. The disdain, I love the disdain piece, because it's at a key moment. She says, I don't remember taking the photo. So far we're doing don't and do. Do not yet. That's a good sign. She realizes she's in a bind, and I think you're seeing a whole lot of that. I think all that twisting mouth, all those things are telling us that she's in a bind. And she does something that I always think as a person moving to realize the adversarial is not working with them. She goes that thing mouth. She starts talking soft. It's changing. That's probably a good thing for her in front of a jury. Remember, me getting into a pissing contest with an attorney is not doing me any favors to stand, because guess who's watching when they get into that? And she's going to be keenly aware of that. Scott, what do you think?
All right, I just figured out what she looks like when she's doing the blinking thing and moving her mouth. Anybody guess? Anybody know? I know exactly what it looks like. I got it. You know those things where people do time-lapse photos of them? You know, I didn't eat sugar for a year, or I didn't grow my hair. I didn't grow my hair for 4 years. It's that thing where they're still, their mouth is moving, their eyes are blinking and stuff really quick. That's what she looks like. Think about that before we watch this again. That's exactly what it looks like, a time-lapse video of photos over like a year, 2 year span. Okay, so her blink rate is actually higher now, believe it or not. I mean, which is mind-blowing. But the only time it slows down is when the attorney starts asking her about details. Why is that? Because she's got to think about what's happening. So all that internal dialogue is going on as she's structuring and thinking about her answer. Takes away from those things. It doesn't lower her stress any, but it takes her, in other words, it takes her mind off the stress and she's thinking about what to say, because it goes right back into that once she finishes answering the question, when she gets that done. So when she's thinking and sorting and structuring, that's when that stuff starts slowing down, and it'll speed up a little bit as she's registering it. Her breath rate increases as her voice gets higher, because this lets us know, again, she's getting even more stressed. But we're not seeing that from facial expressions on her face. A little bit of concern still in there, but there's none of the classic hallmarks of stress we see in the facial expression. It's really, really weird. Really, really weird. You guys have already gone over the breathing stuff. So, Chase, what do you got?
Okay, now we're seeing these very selective memory gaps that Greg was talking about earlier. especially around the photo that she doesn't remember taking just minutes before the video she clearly remembers. So this, what we are seeing right here, this can be a way to avoid acknowledging something that might look incriminating. So she's also bringing up some heavy drinking, maybe to hint that alcohol affected her memory or her judgment, but she denies drinking more in those specific 9 minutes. Interesting. When she's asked if Torres was in the suitcase the entire 20 minutes between the photo and the video, she just says yes, without showing any concern at all. I think this is a scary level of detachment here. So her pattern of remembering some details but not the others, I think shows that she might be trying to dodge all responsibility by controlling how this story sounds. That she's uncooperative, no remorse, no emotional response. There's non-contracted denials in this video here. Blink rate is still very high. She's unwilling to admit that likely she took the photo of the suitcase. Not sure why that would be a big deal to say, yeah, I probably took that. Avoiding questions. Says she remembers nothing between the videos, but reassures us that he was telling her she would die in that time. During that time that she cannot remember anything about. She reassures us he told her she would die and that she's sure she didn't drink in that time. So knowing what you heard and whether or not you had a drink to most people would be less important than someone telling you they couldn't breathe. She can't remember if he said that. That's a big deal.
Is this you? Too many alerts, way too many tweets, not enough people, not enough hours in the day. Rapid 7 managed detection and response gives you a 24/7, 365 song with the world's most...
This is image 1061 taken at 11:03 p.m. 31 seconds. Does this appear to be the blue suitcase that's in the two videos that were captured at 11:12 and 11:20 p.m.? Did you take this image at 11:03 p.m.?
I don't remember if I did or not.
And again, we had, and by we I mean you and Mr. Torres, 2 1.5 liter bottles of wine and plus whatever was left over from the day before, correct? So you don't remember taking this photograph?
No.
Do you remember whether or not Mr. Torres was in here?
Remember taking.
Okay. So, what is your memory of what happens between 11:03 p.m. and 31 seconds when that image is captured, and then when the movie starts at 11:12:45? What do you remember? Do you remember anything from that night? You told the police on February 25th, 2020, they first showed you the video that you didn't remember taking that. Remember that? Your testimony is you do remember taking that video, but you don't remember taking that photograph 9 minutes prior. Is there something, did you have more to drink in those 9 minutes? Was Mr. Torres in that suitcase the entire time between 11:03 when that image was taken and then when the second video was taken at 11:23 p.m.? So for 20 minutes? Yes? Did he begin telling you that he couldn't read before the video, or do you not remember? Now, you testified moments ago that your two neighbors must have misremembered the night without noise, correct? And now you're telling us that you don't remember taking the photograph at 11:03 p.m., correct? Did the police come out to your townhouse on Sunday, February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
I'm talking about Sunday. This is the Sunday fun day for the public's choice. Were the police out of your residence? was the day after, Monday the 24th, correct? And that Monday morning, you called 911, Monday afternoon at about 1 p.m., correct? And between that time frame, you were the only person in your apartment plus Mr. Torres in the suitcase, correct? So if anything had been disturbed in your apartment, you had all the time that you wanted to undisturb them before calling 911, correct?
If I wanted to.
And you still, your testimony is there was no loud boom that shook the walls of your townhouse at about 11 p.m. the night of February 23rd, 2020, correct? To the best of your memory, correct?
All right, Chase, what do you got?
I think she realizes the trap that she got put into here. This, in chess, is called the Sicilian defense. This is controlling the center indirectly and setting up a trap, waiting for somebody to overextend. And she did it, and I think she realized it. I kept waiting on the one question that will set up the long game here. So I keep wanting the prosecutor to ask her, do you consider yourself a reasonable person? That's it. If you do that early, that sets up the prosecutor's Sicilian defense. That one question. That sets everything up for you. I'm not going to go into all the detail of why, but you can figure it out on your own. We're seeing the same mouth grooming, blink rate shifts, lockdown behavior here. But her strategy is now between incompetence, drunkenness, and victim versus intelligent, rational thinker. So it seems here that she's starting to realize she should have picked only one side of the fence to stay on, and that's the face that you're seeing here. This is the common tactic for guilty people, where they will display what I call selective incompetence around little tiny elements of an event, and then they're going to display logic and reason for all the other things. So this strategy is not fully conscious. It's not something that worked as, it's usually something that worked for us as a child. And then if somebody has an average adult life with no real challenges, the strategy generally keeps working. And most people in their life won't call them out or don't really care enough to notice. That's why, in my opinion, I think we're seeing this here. I think this strategy has been used a lot longer than we think, maybe from like middle school time frame, that far back. Scott, what do you got?
I agree. This is an immature person. I don't think her brain developed, and I'm not saying that. Usually they get into drugs when they're really young. That's pretty much when your brain development stops in a lot of cases, especially with a lot of alcohol. So I think we're dealing with a lot of that that come from her youth, being into probably alcohol and drugs. I'm not saying I don't know for sure, but boy, it sure looks like it to me. So don't overdo that. Her facial expression really hasn't changed much at all in these 4 videos. This is why it just keeps, I want to say it keeps getting weirder and weirder, but it just goes to weird and just stays there pretty much. So the only thing that has changed is her blink rate slows down a little bit, and her voice tone volume, her cadence speeds up and slows down just a bit here and there. So for me, adding all the stuff you just added, there's nothing for me anyway much to add here. Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, this is a really good example of this guy. He's angry with a rough sheet drop. I was drunk, I don't remember. And she realizes it because you can see it in her body language. He starts to grin her with, were you so drunk you don't remember a really loud noise that night? And she says, yes. Now he's got somewhere to go. She says, no. It's like, well, you don't remember that, but you remember this. So to your point, Chase, he's taking the same one she's been using to get herself out of the hole and anger with it. She's in a bind here. She realizes it. There's some confusion or concern, whichever we want to call it, right in her brow. And she realizes that. You can see, and she says, I don't remember, I misremember. That is a bind. And you see all the usual stuff. We see blink rate really go through the roof here. You see downright eye access and eye blocking. but we haven't seen till now. Her breathing increased at market point, you can see because of the V-neck, and she chair swiveled, so we haven't seen that yet. This is a place I want to dig in and say, did you get it in that suitcase, or did you put him in there after something happened and created a lot of noise? Or did you throw him down the stairs? I've poke and prod a whole lot. He doesn't. I don't think he needs to. I think she's in a bind here, and she knows it. And if she had a really good attorney, he probably would have said, hold on, that kind of thing. Don't know what kinds of things she had worked out with her attorney, but they're allowed to do or not do. We're going to see her do something really stupid in a few minutes. But this is the beginning of her realizing, I call it realization one. This realization one, I'm in a real bind. He's got me. This road is not mine. Hardware.
Yeah, look, if you're a subscriber, and actually it's most statistically likely that you're not, strangely enough. So, but if you are a subscriber and you listen to us a lot and watch us a lot, you'll know we constantly talk about change. In fact, seeing change is more important than really what you're seeing in that change. Being able to notice something is different is the key, and then digging into why is something different. And this person's quite a busy person. There's a lot going on, but we do see quite a change on the neighbours must have misremembered. The neighbours must have misremembered that there was a lot of noise at the time. Blink rate shoots right up at that point. We get a look of contempt. That side of the mouth comes up in contempt. There's another contempt. There's a lip compression. And there's something else in there. And if only I could read my own writing, I would know the other one in there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put up my notes to 4. We'll all put our notes together. I'm going to put up my notes to video 4. They'll be in a little subscription link down below. You just hit the link and those notes will be sent to you. I want you to tell me what on earth I've written, because it's come to a point in my life where I cannot read my own handwriting anymore. It's come to that point. Please, somebody else, help me, read it for me, download those notes, and email back and tell me what on earth I'm talking about. Here. Scott, let's have another one.
Oh, if you haven't subscribed, then go ahead. That's what you're saying, Mark. Yeah, speaking of our demographic and subscribing, just think you can look into Chase's Eyes every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern, just for about an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes or longer, if you wanted to think about that. So subscribe. Yeah. Oh, God.
At Grainger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your workplace safe and sound. Shop our vast inventory of safety products at Grainger.com. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, you testified moments ago that your two neighbors must have misremembered which night a lot of noise was, correct? And now you're telling us that you don't remember taking the photograph at 11:03 p.m., correct? Did the police come out to your townhouse on Sunday, February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
I'm talking about Sunday. This is the Sunday fun day for the public strikes. Were the police out of your residence? It was the day after, Monday the 24th. Correct? And that Monday morning, you called 911 Sunday afternoon at about 1 p.m., correct? And between that time frame, you were the only person in your apartment plus Mr. Torres in the suitcase, correct? So if anything had been disturbed in your apartment, you had all the time that you wanted to undisturb him before calling 911, correct?
If I wanted to.
Okay. And you still, your testimony is there was no loud boom that shook the walls of your townhouse at about 11 p.m. the night of February 23rd, 2020, correct? To the best of your memory, correct? Now you indicated that Mr. Torres would use your phone to get pornography. Were there ever any points in times when it was you looking at pornography?
If I was, it was to go back and look to see.
Did you ever threaten to get Mr. Torres arrested if he did not do what he wanted him to do?
I wouldn't say threatening.
Okay. Well, were there ever points in times where you'd like him to call you or return a call? And if he didn't do that, you would threaten to get arrested?
It depends on if he had like keys or something that I needed from him.
And it was your townhouse, correct?
Mine, yes. Flush hours.
When did you get him off the lease?
I'm not sure. Here it was, but I don't think he was actually removed from the lease. It was made of.
And did you change the locks so that you could get back in at the points of time when you picked them up?
I did.
And then did you leave the key in the hiding spot that he was aware of?
There were multiple occasions.
On any of the 911 calls, did you ever mention that Mr. Torres was aware of where you had the keys and what you got back into the house?
Until I needed to. We would never break into my home.
Hey, Greg, what do you got?
Yeah, here we go again. She's parsing words. Very specifically, when the guy says threaten, well, I never really threatened, but hold on, but then you go on to say you did threaten. She's parsing words, but she's talking the front of her mouth. I wouldn't say threaten. But what would you say? And I would have asked her a question. I would say, I'd look right dead at her. She says, I only threatened to get my keys or something. I'd say, and the answer is yes. Is that correct? I put her on notice. But he doesn't need to. She's in a bind and she knows it. You watch, she's got that heavy swallow, which she realizes this is another mistake. And then she evades the question about the keys. Did you ever put keys where you knew they would be? And she goes and just outright avoids the question and says, keys were put in a lot of places. So it's interesting. I think we have realization too that she's in a bind. She's sliding down that hill, Chase, back to where we're talking about she's lost control. She knows she's lost control. You have to ask yourself, what made her wake up and say, I want to get on this thing? Maybe she had a story to tell. She thought she had control of it. Chase, what do you see?
Might have been the same thing that made her fire 8 or 9 attorneys. Arrogance. But let's talk about a military term here. I want to teach you a military term. And this is called a force multiplier. So a force multiplier is something that significantly boosts the effectiveness or combat effectiveness of a military force, like advanced technology, a super elite training, really strong alliances, good communications. It's like having a secret weapon and makes you stronger and more capable than the enemy. So she seemed to use the police as a relationship force multiplier and a way to gain leverage and compliance. With this kind of behavior, I'm willing to bet that there's a pattern where this is a very common reaction to needing to gain the upper hand. She might search for these elements of how can I find a force multiplier in this relationship to give me the upper hand in everyday life. If you look at what a force multiplier is, in reality, the suitcase, if you think about this from her brain's perspective, that suitcase was a force multiplier that gave her leverage and control. When she's talking about the pornography thing, it's an incomplete answer. This is the most evasive and deceptive she's been so far. I'm not sure why she needs to be so evasive with these questions. Let me know in the comments if you know the case really well. But when you hear accents on words that are unusual, like when she says she would, I think she says she would threaten to have him arrested if he didn't answer the call, and says something I needed from him. Pay attention to when you hear these. The emphasis would usually be added on the word needed, something I needed from him. I've seen this dozens of times in audio recordings where that was all we could look at. There was no video, there was just an audio of an interrogation. And almost every time there was deception in the form of omission or avoidance there. That's all I got. Mark here. Yeah. So let me see if I can be a force multiplier to you there, Chase. Let me see. Look, here's what we see here, I think. Did you change the lock? Is asked, and she says, I did sometimes, and then we get a bitter taste in the mouth as the lips kind of pull back. You get a little bit of lip compression, but you see these pull back. It's because this area gets activated the same way that if you put what we call an alkaloid in your mouth, something that is bitter tasting, like hops or something like that, or aloes or something like that. You get that astringent taste. So it's different from this here, those lips pushing forward, which is almost a sour taste of pushing something out of your mouth. This is to stop stuff going. It's already got to the back here where it's bitter, and you've now got to stop it going down. You get this bitter taste and slight narrowing of the eyes as well. And I would say that is targeted aggression happening there. Targeted aggression. So there's my force multiplier for you, Chase, on, I think, one of her ways of potentially reacting to being not in control of stuff is aggression. And I think she's not in control of the questioning here. So is it bitterness and aggression around, I did sometimes, that I changed the locks? No, I think it's to the question being asked. To the question being asked, she doesn't like being asked questions she's not necessarily ready for, because she says, I did sometimes. So why not just say, yeah, I did, or I didn't? If you were ready for it, you would, and you've been coached on it, you'd go, I don't recall, or you'd say yes, or you'd say no, because you know what your answer should be. She doesn't know what her answer should be on this. She's out of control, and we see this aggression. And it's out of baseline for her. Her baseline is lots of stuff happens, but we haven't seen very much these narrowing of the eyes towards targeting so much. So, and I think that's a target on the lawyer there. Scott, what do you got for this one?
All right, taking everything you guys said into consideration, and what I'm going to talk about is just everything other than that has stayed the same. Fairly innocuous concern, Val still there, off and on, blah, 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 same stuff.
Now, you indicated that Mr. Torres would use your phone to look at pornography. Were there ever any points in times when you looked at pornography?
If I was, it was to go back and look at the game.
Did you ever threaten to get Mr. Torres arrested if he did not do what he wanted to do?
I wouldn't say threatened.
Okay. Well, were there ever points in time where you would like him to call you or return a call if he didn't do that? You would threaten to get arrested?
It depends on if I had my keys or something that I needed from her.
And it was your townhouse, correct?
Mine, yes. Pleasure.
When did you get him off the lease?
Yeah, sure. Sure it was, but I don't think he was actually the new complaint. It was made.
And did you change the locks so that you could get back in at the point in time when you kicked him out?
I did.
And then did you leave the key in the hiding spot that you were aware of? On any of the 911 calls, did you ever mention that Mr. Torres was aware of where you kept your keys until you got back to your house?
Until I needed to. We would never break into that.
All right, it's your testimony that you did not push him downstairs, correct? And in fact, it was him that dragged you down the stairs the night before, correct?
Yes.
Now, by drag, did you leave your feet? And did you get scrapes on your knees or anywhere on the carpet? Did you get any injuries, like bruises or abrasions or scrapes?
I received the same thing, but while lot of my hair, yes, that was on the stair level.
And you agree that you were photographed on February 24th when the police came out, correct?
Day after.
Well, after the incident, I'm sure when he passed. Some of those photographs showed ashtrays inside your house, which I said you guys couldn't smoke inside your house. Oh, you did? Right? Can you agree you would go to the hospital and tell them things that were not true, correct? There were times where you would go to the hospital and leave without getting treatment, correct? Is it fair to say that you often had alcohol in your system when you were going to the hospital, correct?
Mark, what do you got?
Okay. Did you push him down the stairs? On that we get, and on the answer to that we get contempt. We get a lip pucker on that, so that's lips right forward. Often we think that's coming from literally pushing food out of your mouth. A lot of our non-verbal responses are based in the primal area of just keeping yourself alive, eating, getting bad food out of your mouth. You've always got to think about what is the function, what's the primal function of this gesture to work out what would it originally have been about, therefore what might its meaning be. So the lip pucker, other than, it's a kiss, actually the kissing originally comes from the primal thing of pre-digesting food, the mother chewing it up and then passing it pre-digested in many ways to the infant. Because back in the day, you didn't have blenders back in the day, so somebody has to pre-chew the food and then pass it over to an infant. That's where the kiss comes from. So we get contempt and a pucker, and blink rate goes up to, I was reading 180 per minute there, which is just, and maybe it's too many, maybe that's just ridiculous, but that's what I got out of it. So there's some stress around that one. I did not push him down the stairs. There's a lot of stress around that one there. Chase, what do you got in this one?
Yeah, her mouth is open briefly, which harkens back to when we all were birds, and we would open our mouth for regurgitating. I made all of that up. Mark was likely extremely accurate, and I just made all that up. But I agree. When she says it was him, or the attorney says it was him that dragged you down the stairs the night before, blink rate goes to nothing. Says yes, head nod twice, eyes are open. In the first one, she closes her eyes as she says yes, and no changes on the face. That's a sales pitch. That is a victim sales pitch. And she says she was missing a wad of hair. It wasn't pulled out, it wasn't yanked out, it didn't get jerked out of my head as I was getting dragged down the stairs. Just missing. If you get into a fight, you're going to say, yeah, and now I'm missing a tooth. Or were you going to say, I got a tooth knocked out? Big difference. There's no action in the statement. There's no perpetrator in the statement. And going to the hospital intoxicated and potentially misrepresenting the facts, to me, indicates a pattern of seeking validation or sympathy while avoiding accountability there. And emphasizing these details like missing hair and carpet burns might elicit some sympathy or imply a history of conflict where she sees herself as the one that gets harmed all the time. And this framing can usually be used to justify later actions in her head. Just building a case that she was treated badly or under a lot of stress, she just can't say it out loud. It would be silly if she said it out loud. She has to subtly communicate the feeling of it instead, which is what's happening here. And maybe what's happening in the time in the hospital. So the hospital trips might have been a way to gain force multipliers in the police. If I go there enough, it gets me another layer of evidence for the next time I decide to call the police when he doesn't do exactly what I want him to do. Great.
Yeah, it is a force multiplier, 100% agree, and I think it's a great example of like a neighbor who uses an HOA against their neighbor, or if you're the kind of person who wants to use the government against your friends when you disagree with them, you're the sound person, in my opinion. Yeah, Mark, I think there's actually a word for chewing food for those who have confused this with numbing, if I recall my history correctly. Yeah, being a history fan. I think it's correct. Somebody correct me and tell me if I'm wrong down the bottom.
You can't just make stuff up.
I know. I'm pretty good at it. If you look, there's a confrontational woman from the, remember when we first saw her, we were like, she was in a pissing contest with two guys. There was not an interrogation. I said, no, you weren't. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. No, you weren't. We're seeing that person here. Mark, in your last video, you said she turned her attention to this guy. She clearly turned her attention to this guy. She's back to that same confrontational woman who's like, it's horrific. I was drinking. And you see her eyes widen, her voice tone changes. She's demonstrative. She's not from the mouth again. Now she's moved back to telling. This is exactly like that girl. But she actually uses the words, the day of the incident. The day of the incident. You mean, when this guy died, that you supposedly were in a relationship with, she always talk about severity softer. You don't get much softer than the day of the incident. The day a guy died in a suitcase and she was hooked up. I love that she does more of this parsing words. Well, we couldn't smoke it in the apartment. Oh, we did sometimes. Her blink rate and respiration keys to this stuff. You can tell when she's in a bind, she has lost control. As that blink rate goes up, her respiration goes up, and she goes, there's short answers. Yes, no, did not, didn't. Those kinds of things. Scott, where you go?
All right, this is the first big change. We've seen her facial movements that have been going on. I think you talked about it, Mark. We've seen the person lips and what looks like, or could be the same, but we're seeing lips person to the side. And usually when that happens, that person sees an alternative outcome to what's being presented, in other words. So I think that as the attorney is telling what the situation is before as he's framing the question, she sees that, and that's why they go to the side, because she sees an alternate outcome as to what he's presenting there. So we see eye blocking. I think it's the first time we've seen eye blocking up to this point. And which is interesting because these are things that should be, the whole thing should have been bothering her. But these are specifics that are for some reason bothering her. So, and I think that might be because she's being deceptive at these points. And some of these things, there's no reason whatsoever for her to be deceptive about anything in this, except for to guard her ego. And so, I mean, she's in my opinion, she's had it, she's done for it in this. So, but if we compare her baseline to what's going on now, nothing really has changed, nothing's happened except for that, well, some one couple of movements that we just went over. Now, on the ashtray question, I don't know if you were seeing any deception there. In those last three questions about the hospital, I'm not seeing deception there. She's not relaxed, but nothing's changed. Nothing has popped out of that baseline. So for me, those look non-deceptive up to now. So that's all I got on that one.
All right, it's your testimony that you did not push him down the stairs, correct? And in fact, it was him that dragged you down the stairs the night before, correct?
Yeah.
Now, by drag, did you leave your feet?
Yes.
And did you get scrapes on your knees or anywhere with the carpet? Did you get any injuries, like bruises or abrasions or scrapes?
I was missing a lot of my hair. Yes, that was on the stairwell.
And you agree that you were photographed on February 24th when the police came out, correct?
Day of.
Well, after the incident, we're not sure when you passed. Some of those photographs showed ashtrays inside your house. I thought you said that's been smoking inside your house. But you did, right? You agree you would go to the hospital and tell them things that were not true, correct? There were times where you would go to the hospital and leave without getting treatment, correct? Is it fair to say that you often had alcohol in your system when you went to the hospital, correct? games in hide and seek after arts puzzles, right? He says, tag, you're it, but you run and go upstairs and hide, right? So does that mean he's it and he's supposed to come find you? So you both hide. Okay. How does this work?
I don't know how to tell you, like,
Okay.
I was it, and I went and hid.
I mean, my understanding of rules of hide and seek is one person will be it, cover his or her eyes, count to like 20, and then go find the person that's hiding. Is that, you're familiar with the rules too, or you guys have house rules?
I understand how the
Okay. So, explain to me what was your expectation. You go up to the shower. Were you expecting him to come find you? Okay. And after a while, he did not come find you. And that's when you return downstairs. And because of the way your townhouse is set up, you can kind of see over where the suitcase is, and that he's trying to hide in there, but it's not successfully hidden just yet.
I mean, I'm not a good way, it's more to be.
Right. But you saw, you testified that before you got the problem. All right. And then you come over there, and thinking that it's funny, you zip them shut, correct? Okay. Did you defend it? I was seeing that.
Sign up for the PF Black Card and get your first month free. $1 down, $24.99 a month. Deal ends March 13th.
All right, Greg, what do you got?
This is a real short one, committee, but concerning the brow again, you see that little wrinkle in her brow. She's attacked for how hide and seek actually plays out. But watch her respiration go through the roof when she gets the details and when they ask her about seeing it in the suitcase. I wonder around there why that specific spike, and I poke her pretty hard. And this uses he pronouns for sharing the blame by doing a pronoun shift, and it's we were doing that. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, there are, in my mind, two strong reasons why you would be getting it wrong how to play a game. Okay? It's the hide and seek game, and she says that tag you're it, and then she goes and hides. The lawyer says, well, that's the wrong way around. You know, if you tag you're it, then they become the seeker, you become the hider. She says, no, that's not the way that it is. Well, so two reasons, potential reasons for that. One would be the antisocial reason. We learn games as kids because it's a non-lethal way to understand how to play the game of relationships. And so games have strong rules to them, simple rules, but you apply by the rules because you have to learn to apply yourself to the rules, because you have to learn what happens if you break the rules. You've got to learn the price and punishment of breaking the rules. So is she reversing the roles there because she has an antisocial personality disorder? Well, she may have that, but I don't think that's why she's reversing the rules. She's reversing the rules here because she's telling a big lie. And when you tell lies, you sometimes forget the rules of the games because you never played the game. She says there was puzzling and crafting and drinking and then games. I don't think there was any puzzling or crafting. I think there was probably some drinking. I think that's true.
Throwing down the stairs.
Yeah, and there were some shenanigans of some sort going on, but I don't think hide and seek was any part of it. It's part of her big strategy of going, hey, we were playing a game, and if that were true, she'd be able to apply herself to the rules of that game and go, look, tag, you're it, and so I became the bunny, and that person became the dog, and we understand the rules of the chase around that, and the hiding and the seeking. Got it all wrong. Look, there may be some antisocial personality disorder in there, and we would see that somebody purposely messing up the rules of the game in spite of normal society, but here, just a big fat liar dealing with the situation. In my personal point of view, here. Chase, what do you got on this one?
Let's talk about her framing of the incident. She frames the whole incident as a game of hide and seek. And this is possibly what's called a regressive strategy in trial consulting, using this childlike language to paint herself as innocent and naive, talking about arts and puzzles, calling it just a game, evoking a sense of harmless playfulness that downplays the seriousness of what really happened. So this childlike framing shifts her into a passive, almost dependent role, like she was just swept up in fun without thinking of any consequences. So she's inviting the jury to see her as less responsible, just like a child who couldn't predict any danger that was coming up. And this setup can very subtly and effectively tap into a jury's protective instincts and make them more inclined to see her as somebody who made a mistake instead of a calculated decision. The simple, familiar language of play and hiding distances her from accountability, like she's lacked the adult foresight to understand any of that risk. So she's leaning into this regressive narrative. She positions herself not as some cold, calculating adult, but as this playful kid. It's not a big deal, it's just a kid. We were arts and crafts day, and then hide and seek, and we had recess right after that. So it's encouraging the jury to forgive this perceived lack of awareness. So a lot of our childhood behavioral patterns, especially the ones that help us get out of trouble, stay with us into adulthood without us noticing. But when we're young, behaviors like playing innocent, downplaying responsibility, evoking sympathy in somebody can be extremely effective to avoid punishment or get people to step in. I can recruit people with that behavior as a protector. So these tactics get ingrained in instinctualness. So when you see these, you're able to look into someone's past, but you're also able to see how they're going to navigate the future stress. I did an entire training on this on my YouTube channel where I talked about childhood patterns of behavior. They're so important to be able to spot. What are the patterns I'm seeing in this person when they deal with stress and pressure, as Mark would say? Scott? Yeah.
You and Mark, I guess Greg didn't nail it quite on where I was. I've just totally wiped out my paragraph. So I'll have nothing on that one. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Wait a minute. You know, everybody always thinks that we're fussing on here. That made, I looked at me when I did that, it looked like I was mad, didn't it?
Yeah, but will you keep it in?
No.
There you go. There you go.
Keep that in.
Yeah.
So it ends in hide and seek after arts puzzles, right? He says, tag, you're it, but you run and go upstairs and hide, right? So does that mean he's it? He's supposed to come find you? Okay. So you both hide. Okay. How does this work?
I don't know how to tell you, like,
Okay.
I was it and I went and hid.
I mean, my understanding of the rules of hide and seek is one person will be hit, cover his or her eyes, and count to like 20, and then go find the person that's hiding. Is that, you're familiar with those two, or you guys have house rules?
I understand how
Okay. So, explain to me, what was your expectation? You go up to the shower, were you expecting him to come find you? Okay. And after a while, he did not come find you. And that's when you return downstairs. And because of the way your townhouse is set up, you can kind of see over where the suitcase is, and that he's trying to hide in there, but it's not successfully hidden just yet.
I mean, you have to come down a good ways in order to be able to.
Right. But you saw, you testified that it's pushed up the bottom.
Yes.
All right. And then you come over there, and thinking that it's funny, you zip them shut, correct? Okay. Can you defend it? Oh, see you now. Can we see how it was, the two zipper parts were positioned when you say that Mr. Torres was able to get the hand out? If you want me to do it, then fine, I'll take your direction.
From what I remember,
Right there, Nick?
Sure.
This one will come closer. It's not over there? Where do you?
You asked me where I zipped it.
When you say that it's zip shut, show us.
Talking about how I zipped it, or
When you're done zipping it shut, at least inside of it, where is the zipper?
Just tell me what was that.
it was before. I mean, it's not. And this one was on the from what I can remember. That's how he was trying to put his hand out. It was like this from the corner.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll go first on this one. If somebody that I love died in a bag like that, and they wanted me to touch it, I don't think I would be into touching it. I don't think I would be wanting to go near it. I don't think it would be tough to look at it. I don't think I want to have anything to do with it. And he actually says, you don't have to touch it, I'll do it if you don't want to do it. She just dismisses that, doesn't even address that part really. You know, she goes in, puts her hands all over it, and it tries to pull it, turns it around, moves it around. No problem with getting right up next to it. This is where I was trying to decide if we're dealing with a psychopath or not. Here's why I think we're not, and we're dealing with what is known as a sociopath. It's because she's not trying to ingratiate herself with anyone. She's not got that personality type to try to make you like her. She's not being nice or anything like that. I think she's just been raised as the quote-unquote sociopath is, to where her feelings as a child weren't addressed. I don't think she had anybody saying to her, hey, listen, don't do that.
You know what my mentor called that? They don't make eye contact with waiters. That's how he describes that person. That they don't interact, they transact only. They'll just throw it out. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And you can always tell by a person who doesn't actually talk to the waiter or waitress or the barista or whatever. They don't rock with them. I make a lot of decisions about people saying that. That's really a big deal. But if I love somebody and they would have been in that bag, or that bag had probably even been there, I wouldn't want to get near it, touch it, do anything. And she has no problem whatsoever touching it. So I think what we're seeing here is a person who has been disassociated from having the empathetic feelings, similar to a psychopath, because a psychopath doesn't have the equipment to let them have those empathetic feelings to create them. So I think that's why she doesn't have a problem feeling it, touching it, dismissing it, not staring at it. We don't see any emotion. When that comes up, we don't see any sadness. We don't see anything that lets us know that suitcase bothers her. Even though she beat, I'm under the impression she beat the guy to death, or helped him pass, by beating him while he's in the dang bag. And she has no problem. What?
I don't understand the evidence she beat him while he was in the bag.
It does. Oh, okay, I'm going to take that part back. I was under the impression that that's what the guy brought up earlier, that the attorney had said.
But he's implied it, but I never heard him say, and she does, she even volunteers to go and say, I'll show you how I did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any evidence that's like here.
Okay, I'll take that back then, since we have the evidence. I recall that, so I'll take it back. But, so I don't think we're dealing with a psychopath here. I think it's she's a sociopath, and I think those are the reasons why. So that bothered me all the way up to that point. So I think that's what we're saying, because we don't see any emotion at all, not even a little bit when it comes to that bag. Chase, what do you got?
Mark brought this up earlier. I want to talk about our outfit, if y'all will allow me to do that. As an attorney or as a trial consultant, I'm not an attorney, I would never choose all black or all darks for a woman on trial. With her appearance, I would go through every single episode of The Office and make her subconsciously resemble Pam Beasley to that jury. It would be easy to do with that haircut, her body type. They wouldn't know why, but they would start to see that, and they'd feel a certain way about her. I wrote an entire chapter of these tricks. There's like I think 71 of them in my new book, and this is definitely one that is really powerful. If you can harness it, we go into those for jury psychology, and anybody's psychology can be manipulated that way, really. But these demonstrations can be very powerful, even though they seem stupid. This with the suitcase is what I'm talking about. It seems stupid. Why is this relevant? Why is this important? Demonstrations create vivid, memorable moments that can impact jurors emotionally. So watching a suspect zip up a suitcase that somebody later died in brings emotional intensity to the abstract facts of the case. All these random facts, now I see it happen. And that's kind of why we might be seeing that here. So bringing this mundane behavior of zipping the suitcase in front of the jury makes them visualize it. And it makes it visceral. It underscores these darker implications of what really took place. Mark, what do you got?
Yes, I think everybody's spot on here. Scott, let me pick up further on this empathy piece, because I think you're spot on there. And there are many types of empathy. I'm just going to describe two of the types of empathy to you. And the empathy that I had with that suitcase piece. I had what we call cognitive empathy with it. I think that's what you're talking about there, Scott, which is I understand the kind of feeling that somebody could have, if they had emotional empathy for, somebody dying in a bag that they're now touching. I think if I were there on the spot, I might get a sense of that emotional empathy. But right now, very detached from it, I can only have cognitive empathy, which is me going, oh, that would be very odd. Could be a very odd feeling. But I'm not feeling the feeling myself. For some of you there, you might be watching that, and you might actually feel something of a feeling. That would be you're having an emotional empathy. But I don't have that emotional empathy. And so, because I'm not having emotional empathy for it, but I am empathetic, I have cognitive empathy, both are very important. The place my mind goes, and somebody died in that bag, but because I'm only having cognitive empathy for it, where else my mind can go, and because most of this week I've spent more time in the air than I have on the ground, I go, this is a lesson in quality luggage. Because I just can't get over how stiff that zip is. And I can't get over my own emotional empathy of the frustration of having to kind of leave the zip won't close. Because when I'm, packing up, which I'm doing on a regular basis, I'm about speed. And I need a very slick zip. And you only really get that with very high quality luggage. And that's what you're paying for. That is what you are paying for. And so my emotional empathy is with the frustration of that zip, and my cognitive empathy is within, wouldn't that feel odd if you had actually killed somebody or you knew the person and you were trying to do that? So the other thing, again, because I'm in cognitive empathy and not emotional empathy, is I can't get over how this now just looks like an auction house. And we've got people dressed in suits with white gloves, and they now look like they're handling some piece of conceptual art.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, somebody's going to go, okay, we start the bidding on suitcase on the floor at $1 million. $1 million, do I have $1 million? $1 million, $1 million, $100 million, $100. On the phones, $1 million, 200, and they get up to the $5 million. We're at $5 million for suitcase on the floor, going once, going twice, $5 million to the Saudis, and there we go. Can't get over that. Anyway, hope that was interesting on emotional and cognitive empathy. Greg, what do you got in this one?
You know what I can't get over? Somebody's stupid enough to get up and reenact a crime.
Yeah.
What are you thinking? If you have an attorney, they have zero empathy for you at this point, and they're saying, hey, yeah, get up, go over there and show them exactly what you did. And by the way, since the zipper is sticky and you were drunk, that means you went through a little extra effort to get it happening.
I mean, what the hell are you thinking? What are you thinking when that happens? By the way, if you ever go on trial and if you fire all your attorneys and they ask you to get up and reenact your crime, don't do it. Just don't do it. Just say, hey, there's video of how it looked. I will admit that I zipped it here. I'm not getting up and doing that. That's just stupid. That's how that happens.
Unless you are Gwyneth Paltrow and you're the most comfortable person in the room and you can make them feel like dipshits for doing it.
Yeah, because you didn't commit a crime.
Yeah.
In this case, you've admitted I committed a crime. You're going to have to reenact it. And you're going to show how you fastened this guy in there. And then later say, you want me to demonstrate how I hit him with a bat in there. I mean, what the hell are you thinking? This is a clear, somebody who thinks they're smarter than they are and they have the message they're going to deliver. They're reinforcing everything you thought at the very beginning, the first video. She's getting up and doing exactly that. And to your point, Scott, a guy died in here. Not just a guy, somebody she knew. And if it was an accident, we should see the same behavior we saw when she saw that very first cop. Remember the very first cop, all the way back at the beginning, was all that apprehensive, panicked and all that. That act is gone. That is gone. So now somewhere she's got to get back in the act. I don't know how that works. I think this is what goes on. You had a strategy 2 years ago, and you chase back to the organism does what made the organism successful. This person's gotten away with this stuff for 2 years, or thinks she has. Scott, back to your point of she has not thought of what she's not thought of. And she stands up and does this stuff. This is, I cannot imagine being sitting in the front row and not thinking, wow, that's pretty creepy. That's pretty creepy. I'd probably weighed in heavily. Pretty dumb with it.
But do you know if this is the actual, is this the actual case? Is that why they've got the white gloves? It's not a reproduction?
Yeah,
It's not a...
yeah. As a matter of fact, they go into details, parts you guys didn't see, but I clipped the videos, of course. They say there was not a paper clip on here. And they're a lawyer tries to protect her a couple of times. He tries to get her out of it and says, hey, there's not a paper clip on there. There's a paper clip now, so she can't show you exactly how she was on it. I object. There's video of where this thing was zipped. What happened to all that? This is ugly.
Yeah, let me bring up one thing about marking the luggage thing. Usually when you see, let's talk about the way he looks here, the way he looks when he's not in here. You see him out somewhere, like we're doing a show or something, we're all together, we go out, or if you travel with him, because we have. When you see Mark on here, comparatively, he looks like a homeless person. What he wears on here to what he wears outside, out in the wild. So I don't know, and I've seen his luggage, and I don't know how he puts all that stuff in there. And we talked about that one time on the plane, Mark, and we were going to where it was. And I still don't, my mind is blown how you can put all that stuff in your bag, all those different things. It looks like you just walked out of some Italian, whatever it was, soup maker, and they're all different. I don't know how you pull that off. So I understand your concern and your focus on the luggage here. Yeah.
So it's your understanding and empathy.
That's luck.
What do you think she did when she was shopping for luggage? Hey, do you have anything big enough to fit my book?
Yeah, let's go luggage shopping. What do you think?
I would have gone with bigger. It's a tight case, isn't it?
Tell how much you weigh, Greg.
103. Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
A little bit of
She weighed 90 something. So,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So he's half me. Less than half me.
Yeah, less than half, maybe.
Can we see how it was the two zipper parts were positioned when you say that Mr. Flores gave that handcuff? If you want me to do it, then fine, I'll take your direction.
From what I remember, this is how the suitcase
All right there, now?
Sure.
This one was much closer. It's not over there? where did you?
You asked me where I zipped it.
When you say that it was zipped shut, show us.
Talk about how I zipped it, or
When you're done zipping it shut, at least inside of it, where is the zipper? Just tell me what it's at.
it was the corner over there. Between here and the front. Yeah, this one was not even from what I can remember. That's how he was cutting his hand out. It was like this from the corner.
Thank you. You can return. Did you ever change the position of those zippers once you put it in that position?
I did not.